Wow. Alright. After many years of waiting for these contestants to be ready, we're here with the second round of the lower bracket between Ace and Josh. We just saw. What did we just see? I'm forgetting which of these players we just. Oh, we just saw Josh take down his previous opponent, which was Fixis, with the 6-0 sweep starting from turn 1 with Ego for Alligator, which was quite unfortunate for his opponent, but let's see if he can pull off this trick in this match against Ace. We're just waiting for Ace to queue up into the match rather than posting screenshots into Discord. I will just hurry him along. Oh, never mind. There they are. Foito complaining about loud audio. Sorry if my mic is loud. Gotta have people hear the commentary, you know? Alright, we're getting the preview of Ace's team here. Sticky webs with all manner of threatening mons. They weren't quite enough to get the best of Foito's team in the previous match, but let's see how they do against Josh here. Now, obviously expecting a likely Infamon lead. Either Infamon or Wizardmon is going to be Ace's lead of choice here, so what's Josh want to do into those two Pokemon? There's no knockoff on Josh's team, so making progress into Infamon will be slightly more difficult. Knockoff a great option into both of Ace's likely leads, so that would have been good, but nevertheless, it's not here. You could possibly go for Rotom as a pretty safe option. Magnezone also does okay. There's nothing that really prevents sticky webs, so maybe you just lead Crobat here because you're immune to the toxic of Infamon, and you can always just switch into Magnezone if it happens to be a wizard lead. Josh is really thinking about this one. Bit of a slow start to this battle here. Of course, now this is do or die. This is double elimination, but this is a lower bracket match, so both of these players are on their last life, as it were, so they need to think carefully about every move they make. No rash choices. And I kind of sympathise with Josh here because there's not a great lead into Ace's team that really just shuts down everything, you know? I'd like to see either Rotom or Crobat. Rotom obviously and Crobat both have pivot moves that can at least keep momentum up for the following turn. Cool. Really thinking about it. You could have always just lead for Alligator and say YOLO and Nasty Plot. I guess that's not the worst thing in the world. Oh no, but of course Wizardmon is Necromagic with Threaten for Alligator, so that wouldn't be ideal. But it is Focus Sash we see there, so yeah, it does stick with for Alligator. I quite like this. If we see the Wizardmon lead, this Focus Sash could... Okay, we see Meloetta. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think you just Nasty Plot here, don't you? No reason not to. Bit surprised about that, to be honest. Meloetta obviously packs a threat, but it doesn't have a lot of initiative. It kind of, you know what it's going to go for, which is Relic Song, and it kind of has to go for Relic Song in order to start doing what it wants to do. So, you know, as long as you're not afraid of Relic Song, which... Oh, there we see it. Wow. Okay, so Ace has got lucky there turn one. This is a I happen to know that this is a King's Rock Meloetta, so there was a 20% chance to sleep and a 20% chance to flinch on any given turn. Obviously, you can't flinch if you go second, but the 20% sleep does come into play, and that's pretty crucial. Thankfully, Piximon here does outspeed and goes into Wizardmon and misses the play rough. Ooh, very unlucky. That would have done a huge chunk of damage. Wizardmon is not very bulky, and it might even be hasty nature, so Josh is up against it here right off the go. Wow, that sleep on Feraligatr is huge. There's not going to be any good chances for Ace to get that woken up again. So we're going to have to see some really careful play from Josh here. It's unlikely that Wizard would click knockoff here, so I think switching into Mag is pretty safe. Yeah, we do see that. Goes for the Necromagic, so Josh is going to be able to gain some momentum back here. Almost certainly just going to Volt Switch, but maybe you just go for some damage on something. Do you see the Volt Switch? And now I would expect Crobat? Or do you take this chance to wake up, actually? Right? Is that worth it? You obviously concede the sticky webs, but if you can wake up within 1 or 2 turns, it could be really valuable for the rest of the match. Decides to go into Rotom here. Interesting choice. I don't think Rotom wants to get Toxic, which it could well do. I'm not sure about this. Obviously Overheat does big damage, but getting Toxic on Rotom would be pretty much a disaster, I would say, at this point in the match. Josh is clearly rethinking his own decision here, realizing it's quite risky to stay in. Okay, well, it's just Taunt. Not sure that Taunt was super valuable here. Burning of Infamon is a very slow, not super high yield play. Gets the damage off with Overheat, so looks like a pretty specially defensive Infamon. Might even be max for def. Goes for the parting shot. No webs. Obviously, you know, when you've got a Crobat on the opposing team, sticky webs is a little bit less useful. But the thing about webs is if you get them up, the opponent has to spend a turn removing them. And you can use that turn, you know, to get the upper hand in some fashion. Decides departing shot here. We'll see what Ace wants to go into. Obviously, having nothing that naturally outspeeds Crobat is tricky. You're basically saying, I'm going to risk getting chipped in order to get some damage off or set up. You can't really afford taking damage on Varion at this point because the win condition, you know, one of your win conditions is to try and get a tail glow up at some point, and you'll want webs up to before you do that. So yeah, Wizardmon is the smart choice here. Of course, Scarf does allow it to outspeed. I forgot that Wizardmon was lurking around, and Necromagic will probably do around 90% to Crobat. Might even, no, I don't think it'll kill, but it'll do good damage. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you are risking the knockoff, so you can go into Magnezone, but Magnezone is going to be very valuable against Varion. Varion doesn't have a great coverage move to hit Magnezone, so even with a Tail Glow up, Assault Vest Magnezone is going to deal with Varion fairly well, I'd think, with something like Horn Leech. Because obviously Varion needs to go for Earth Power to get a neutral hit off, and Horn Leech at that point is super effective, so you really can't afford to switch in on a knockoff here. I wonder if you predict the knockoff and just go for Brave Bird. I mean, that would be brave, but Josh is brave. But Josh is in such a bad situation here with the sleeping for alligator that you kind of have to make predictions. You know, Josh isn't going to win this match at this point just by making safe switches every turn. I would personally click Brave Bird here. But then Ace isn't the type to go for these crazy predictions if they don't have to, so perhaps they do just click Necromagic, which is the safe option. Tricky turn. Very tricky turn indeed. You could obviously just go into Chansey, but that's another one you don't want to get knocked off. Do we see the knockoff? No, we see the trick. Ooh, well that's rough. That is rough. Now, it's a kind of double-edged thing here, because now obviously Crobat is more valuable. It doesn't get outsped by Scarf Wizardmon. And now Magnezone... Does Magnezone outspeed Varion naturally at this point? Probably not, no, because it's going to be probably a minus speed nature. Yeah, this is shaping up to be a really weird middle game. Still no hazards on Ace's side of the field. Chansey hasn't had a chance to come in yet. It could come in now, but again, you're just going to get knocked off, so you kind of need to find a better chance. But without Rocks up, you know, this is a kind of team that relies on pivot, it relies on regenerator, it relies on recovery moves. You're not making a lot of progress unless you have hazards. So, yeah, obviously threatening a Brave Bird, which wouldn't kill, but might make Ace think that they have to switch here. You can tell both of these players are quite nervous about the prospect of not winning the match. There's a lot of hesitation, a lot of real hard thinking on every turn. And in fairness, these have been some difficult turns. There's not been super obvious plays. Josh does like these kinds of teams that really like to grind battles down, slowly negotiate winning positions, and it's not out of the realms of possibility that he could get himself back into a winning position here. But it's going to take a lot of careful, grindy turns where you click U-turn a lot. And as I said, at some point he might need to make a risk, but he's not a very risky player, so we'll see how this goes. Now, obviously, having lost the Assault Vest, Varion, if Magnezone can get chipped in any way, Earth Power from Varion is suddenly looking a lot more scary. I think a +3 Earth Power would probably, might even kill Magnezone if it doesn't have an Assault Vest. It's Stab. Tricky, hard to say actually, it might be very close. Okay, so Ace decides to stay in. Yeah, Wizard just staying in here, getting right back up to nearly full health. And we see that, you know, Josh just doesn't have a great option against this Pokemon. Necromagic is such a powerful move in terms of just being able to stay healthy. We talked about the lack of knockoff on Josh's team. One of Wizardmon's main downsides, one of the reasons it's, you know, nowhere near an OU staple Pokemon outside of niche teams like Sticky Webs, is because of its vulnerability to knockoff. If you can get anything in and click knockoff, Wizardmon dies, which means that you lose momentum and also lose an item on something, or you just sack them on. But with a team like Josh's where there is no knockoff, Wizardmon actually has a really great matchup. Josh is slowly chipping it down here, so I can see his strategy. He's probably trying to work out how much damage he needs on it for Brave Bird to kill. Because not much on Ace's team wants to take a Brave Bird. We do know that the Victini is choice band, not choice scarf. So we finally see a switch. Infamon comes out, and now what do we do here? Do we go into Rotom again to try and get more chip? No, we go into Magnezone. Okay, so obviously webs are already up. Are they not? No, they're not up. Okay, webs go up now. Do you... Again, I kind of like using the Infamon turns to do something with Feraligatr, because at this point Josh has no win condition. He's got no wall breaking power aside from overheat. He's just kind of, he's stuck in his own pivot vortex. It's a bit of a strange one, this. There we see the Victini. Okay, so Ace finally makes an offensive play. Of course, with three off the ground Pokemon on Josh's team, the webs aren't going to be as valuable as they would otherwise be, but this discharge, yeah, so it goes for Volt Switch. Interesting. Clicks. Honestly, I think V-Create was still... Is it more damage? No, maybe not. Maybe not quite more damage. So the Zen Headbutt, you see the bulk of physically defensive Rotom there. But yeah, the thing about clicking Zen Headbutt is it means Magnezone is safe to come in. And Infamon is slowly losing health, as it does tend to do. Oh, Ace just said misclick. Oh, maybe that, no, that was 10 minutes ago. I only just looked at the chat, so obviously at some point Ace misclicked something. We're in for the long haul here, folks. Again, we don't see Feraligatr come out. I'm really intrigued as to why Josh is so afraid of bringing it in. It's like he's treating it as already dead. But these Infamon turns, you know, there could have been 2 or 3 turns now where Josh could have used it to build to use up sleep turns. And of course, after one speed boost, which you still get even though you're asleep, a webbed Feraligatr would outspeed Victini, and even after a parting shot, a Surf is going to do huge damage to a Victini, perhaps even kill. So, though it's not like you're even wasting, you're not even giving up those turns, you're using those turns to boost your own speed while you try and wake up. Okay, we see the switch into Varion on the Brave Bird, probably predicting the U-turn, I would imagine, but that's big, important chip damage. And of course, the taunt here will shut down any chance of tail glowing. Yeah, that was a huge prediction on Ace's part, basically gambling everything on the facts of U-turn there. Just goes for tail glow raw. Wow, Josh over predicted himself there. Expected Ace to be afraid of the tail glow thanks to taunt, but decided to oh, Chansey's... When did Chansey get poisoned? am I forgetting when that happened? Nevertheless, we saw a weird scenario where Varion came out seemingly trying to set up for the win, but actually ended up getting scared out, almost by its own shadow. Of course, the thing about Chansey is it's so bulky that even with +6, I'm not sure you're even 2 at KOing. Maybe you are. The durability on this Wizardmon is really impressing me in this match. Losing the Choice Scarf has allowed it to stay in for a lot more turns and cause a lot more problems than I would have expected, but Crobat's managed to stay healthy, which is going to be really important for Josh. Brave Bird kind of remains a very free click into most of Ace's team, well, all of Ace's team in fact. And at this point, I think, does Brave Bird kill Wizardmon from this range? It probably does. Yeah, it does go for it, and Wizardmon goes down. So there goes Ace's chance to get a knockoff on Chansey or anything else. And given that, it's going to probably have to be Victini who makes the most progress in this match. Or Greninja, of course. Yeah, God, we haven't seen Greninja for the whole match. I'd forgotten about it. But here it is. Now what do you do? The thing about Greninja is there is no such thing as a safe switch. Actually, Rotom does manage quite well, given that it has no water move. So it's going to be able to gather momentum here. I would expect a U-turn from Greninja. Unless we're getting to the point in the battle where Ace is just getting impatient and wants to see if a gunshot will kill here, and spoilers, it will not. I believe it was actually a very, very similar turn in the match between Ace and Foitor, where Ace went for a gunk shot on a Rotom Wash, didn't get the kill, lost the Greninja, and lost most of their chances at winning the match. So what's going to happen here? We're seeing a repeat of decisions faced by Ace. And they are giving it due thought. I didn't actually see what move was clicked by Rotom there. I'm guessing it was either Discharge or Volt Switch. Greninja, of course, will lose its water typing, so it won't be a super effective electric type move, but it will do a lot of damage nonetheless. Greninja being pretty frail. Even with no offensive investment, Rotom's, I think, 105 special attack stat is respectable enough. Of course, Discharge could be the good choice because of the paralysis chance. But I mean, if you lose momentum here against Greninja by not clicking Volt Switch, you're basically just deciding to sacrifice the Rotom. Does go for the gunk shot. See 50% damage? Yeah, pretty much exactly 50%. Does get the poison. Ooh, that's key. Citrus Berry gets it back up to respectable health. Goes for the overheat, okay. Yep, so not quite a trade. Rotom does obviously win that, but is now fairly crippled. So we did see a repeat of decisions there. Ace deciding to stay in to get chip damage on the Rotom. Got the poison. I think as they did against Foitor, they got the poison as well. But in the end, how important will that be? Now here comes Meloetta to get a Relic Song. Now of course, I was saying that Victini and Greninja were the only physical threats. Meloetta turns into a physical threat, so I was just forgetting everything about Ace's team. But Crobat has the tools to quite easily deal with a fighting type. Crobat really showing its worth here on Josh's team, as it does tend to do. Josh knows how to get the best out of his signature Pokemon, that's for sure. Great reliable speed control. Brave Bird is a really freaky lick into so much of the OU tier. There aren't that many steel types that are commonly used outside of Magnezone and Aegislash, and obviously Magnezone is not actually resistant to flying. It's one of the reasons why Garudamon's such a strong Pokemon as well, because it's got the power to wall break through almost everything in the tier with Brave Bird. Crobat not quite that powerful, but certainly powerful enough to do good damage to a Meloetta. And Ace, recognizing that they have no switch here, does decide to stay in. Doesn't kill. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected it to kill, but now we see how much a return can do. Probably 60%. Ooh, a little bit more, maybe 65, 70. So obviously there's no priority. So what do we do here? Now, do you roost? Are you recovering? I don't think you're quite recovering enough for roost to be worth it, even with the black sludge. So it goes for the Brave Bird. Now Crobat is finally chipped down, which is something that it's managed to avoid for the whole battle up till now, which means that... Ooh. Okay, well, you're forced to taunt here, otherwise Crobat can click Roost. But do you bluff the taunt, try and get initiative by parting shotting, and then... But then, even if you parting shot and Crobat doesn't Roost, they still get to U-turn. Yeah, bit of a double bluff. But Crobat's the one that comes away with momentum here. Ace saying that they've attempted to cook, but the kitchen is reduced to cinders. Oh dear. Good lord, what is happening in there? Alright, Varion's going to need to come through with the Aurora Borealis here, or we are looking at a struggling uphill endgame for Ace. Toxic gets clicked. Yeah, there's not going to be enough turns here for Varian to do anything. You're going to need +6 to do much of anything to Chansey. And finally we see the Stealth Rocks. Yep, goes for the +6. I want to see 50%, 55% from Moonblast. Yeah, 55-ish. And obviously soft-boiled in that case, free to just stall out. Ooh, maybe that was a roll. Yeah, so it's looking like it can do a little bit more, but it's not going to be enough. Okay, so now... This does obviously, you know, you're losing one of your sweepers, but finally Ace, for arguably the first time in the match, has the chance to bring Victini in for free and click V-Create. It's not had that chance for the whole game, and now finally something on Josh's team is going to die. Of course, it's very likely to be Crobat at this point. I think... I mean, if you're going to sack something, you should sack for Alligator, right? What are you saving for Alligator for at this point? If you sack, really, I'm so surprised at that. Because what's Josh's plan with his Gator? Is he ever going to bring it out again? He's not used any of the chances he's had to get it woken up until now, so that's very curious turn there. And now he sacks, so you basically lose 2 Pokemon instead of 1. Because I guess Piximon, because both of its stabs are resisted by Victini, he actually needed the chip from U-turn in order to kill it. So I guess I understand why. But now it's looking kind of tricky. Actually, saying that, is this the only Pokemon that Ace has left? Yes, it is. Okay, well, there we go. I was putting a lot more thought into these final turns than obviously was required, but GG, Josh advances and Ace is eliminated. We'll see Josh or whoever it ends up being in the next round. GG.